Okay, welcome to this introduction to Aroma Point Therapy. And today it'll just be a little background into what it is, into who I am, and how you can use this in your everyday life, and also how it can be introduced as an addition to if you're a practitioner, be that yoga instructor, masseuse, Chinese medicine, acupuncturist, any kind of practice that you have, you can use this as a way of kind of getting through those layers of stress and overwhelm that people often have when they come into us. It can just mean that you can get to what you do quicker and more effectively. So it's really, really handy technique to use. So a little bit about me. My background's in nursing. Claire is my name, and you know that from signing up anyway. And I've over 18 years in acute nursing. And I also have, over the past 10, 11 years or so, been training in holistic therapies. So that started out with Reiki, and then I added working with essential oils to that. And in the last 6 years or so, came across Tiffany Carroll's work. And that is where I learned this technique of aroma point therapy. I went on to finish my Reiki master's level and train as an EFT practitioner as well and cacao circle facilitator. And I have used aroma point therapy, this method of applying essential oils to acupuncture points on the body, whether it's in one-on-one work, so I'd use the oils and then go on to use Reiki, or in group sessions where, we would have a number of people in the group, and I would either use some EFT, so some tapping first, and then use the oils as a relaxation afterwards and to help just get through those additional layers of what needed to shift within them. So it's a beautiful technique, whether you are applying it to somebody, to yourself, or directing people on how to use it in a group setting. Um, so Aroma Point Therapy, the foundations of it are back in kind of 2010, 2011. And Tiffany Carroll, who I trained with, who's a Chinese was it five? I can't remember the proper name for what the type of Chinese medicine that she practices. Um, Five elements, that's it. Yeah. So she's an acupuncturist. She also has a background in biochemistry and really soul evolution studies. Had joined forces with Peter Holmes, and Peter has a background in aromatherapy and also in Chinese medicine. And he's authored a couple of books that are really helpful if you are interested in essential oils, called the Aromatica. And they're very much in depth into different essential oils and how they can support you. So he's a good one to look out for. So the two of them combined anyway, and the Aroma Point therapy was built on the foundation of what Peter had developed. So Peter had years working with essential oils and studied to do with fragrance and, especially in the perfumery industry. And he had developed this fragrance energetics model. So it looked at how fragrance moves energy within the body. So depending on the type of oil, the type of fragrance, it moves the energy within your body in a different way. And then Tiffany Carroll built upon that. So what we study within Aroma Point Therapy is the dynamics of fragrance models. So that brings dynamic movement into it as well. And with this model, it's fantastic for really understanding how essential oils impact us in our body. So you can smell an oil without necessarily having to read up on it. I had started recording there and got going. So you can listen in. I was just talking a little bit about myself in the background of Aroma Point Therapy, just for the recording. So I was just chatting about the fragrance dynamics and the dynamics of fragrance model. So it's a way of knowing how essential oils move energy within our body. Um, so there is, let me see, I'll show you a little look at the chart because it gives you an idea of how I'm going to share my screen. As soon as I can remember how to do it. Let's see. No. Uh, Zoom have, oh, here we go, share. Um, hmm. Oh, here we go. Now, let's see. Here we go. Okay, so this, hopefully you can see my screen there. This is the dynamics of fragrance model that we study in Aroma Point Therapy. So it's based on the fragrance energetics and it looks at how fragrance moves within the body. So whether it affects the top of our body, the middle, or the base. And that would be the same with the kind of the different tones of the oils as well. Okay, so it looks at how it moves energy within our body. And it's a beautiful way of understanding what way they affect us. Okay. Um, so with Aroma Point Therapy, for I know some of the gang that have signed up would have done retreats with me or one-on-one experiences with the oils. But basically, what we do with Aroma Point Therapy, for those of you who haven't done it before, is we take a little bit of diluted essential oil and put it on a specific acupuncture point in the body. So Tiffany really simplified how this is done so that it's a little bit easier to understand for people who aren't necessarily acupuncturists. So it is designed for anybody to use. I would often use it at home on the kids if they can't get to sleep or if they have certain ailments going on, I'll use it on them. I use it on myself for my own personal development. I use it for meditating and just kind of dropping down into different kind of aspects of the oils. And then also clinically. So with the Aroma Point Therapy Fundamentals, which is a course I have coming up, it's very much assessing the individual to see whether there might be imbalances in their system. So there's a model that we use, which is the biological terrains model, and it is a model which we assess people on these different continuums. So there's the tense week continuum. So that's what the majority of people in the Western world especially have issues with, which is to do with the nervous system and tension and whether they are very tense and tight physically, mentally, emotionally, or whether they're very weak, which would be kind of almost gone into apathy and conditions that would affect people more along the lines of just not having the energy to get up and go and do things. So that is a continuum that's hugely problematic with people that are living in the way that we do life at the moment in the Western world. And then the other continuums are hot and cold and dry and damp. With Aroma Point Therapy, we very much the first kind of continuum that's mainly affected is the tense week, and then kind of secondarily moving on to the other ones. So what I would like to do for any of you that are following along with the recording afterwards, you can do this as well, is just to get a little experience of how bergamot works on the system, okay? So if you have oil, grab it. I have mine pre-diluted in the bottle, so I'm able to just use it straight from the bottle. If you haven't got it pre-diluted, what you can do is just put a drop into your hand or into a little container. And for aroma point therapy, because we're not using it on a large body area, it's actually a lot more concentrated than if you were, say, rubbing it, on your abdomen or your neck or something like that. We're literally just using a drop on a small point. So what we use for bergamot is a 25% dilution. And that means that it's one drop of the essential oil to 3 drops of a carrier oil. Now, carrier oil can be the likes of fractionated coconut oil or jojoba oil, or it could even be olive oil, but it doesn't soak into your skin very well. So use one that's used to, that soaks into your skin. So you can have it pre-diluted, ready to go. The reason we dilute it is that if you're using undiluted oils on your skin, repeatedly, even if it is just a small area, you can develop sensitivity to the skin from having it placed on it. So just to reduce the chances that your skin will react to it, it's better to dilute it. Any of the citrus like bergamot or orange or that, it's 25%. Some of the other oils that are a bit gentler on the skin, it might be a 50% dilution. So that's 1 drop of essential oil to 1 drop of carrier. The likes of the precious oils like rose or helichrysum, which are really potent and are also scarce, so they're a lot more expensive to buy. Anything from a 15% dilution on them is plenty, so they go a lot further. Okay, so what we're going to take is a drop of the bergamot diluted, and what we're going to use it on is a point on the ear called Shen Men. So I have a little diagram that I can show you so that you'll know where this point is. Once again, I hope you can see this. Okay, so this is Shen Men on the ear. So everyone's anatomy is a little bit different, but you're going in, there's the outer part of the ear, and then there's an inner kind of dip there. And that's Shen Men, okay, in the triangular fossa of the ear. So it's a point that's used for relaxing, calming, and balancing, okay? And you do both ears at the same time, okay? So take a drop of the bergamot, do it now as well. And the technique is that you literally just place it on the point. So it's not acupressure. You're not pressing hard. You're literally just placing the oil to be absorbed onto the point in the ear there. Okay. So you just place and hold, close your eyes, and just take some regular breaths and just notice what you notice. And just hold it in place for kind of 1 to 3 minutes. We won't do the full 3 minutes now. Everyone will be waiting around, but when you're doing this at home yourselves, or if you're watching the recording, you can pause it and you can just place them for there until you feel a little bit of a shift in your energy body. Okay. So I did bergamot before I came on the call, so I'm already pretty relaxed. But you can have a smell of it as well when you're finished. Okay. And I don't know, Mia, if you're able to talk or not, but if you are, you could, or you could type in and let us know how you felt after doing that. Or if you can't interact, you could be just listening in the middle of doing something. Don't worry about it. I'll give you a sec. So anyone who did it at home, just have a feel into how you felt while that was happening. So what did you notice in your system? And sometimes when you're new to this, you mightn't, well, actually, anybody who works with energy will notice it quite quickly. So any of the acupuncturists will notice the difference, any of the Reiki energy workers, people who are used to working with and noticing shifts in energy will have noticed and appreciated what's going on. For anyone who hasn't done this sort of work before, personal or with clients, it can take a little while to kind of feel into what is it that I'm feeling. And oftentimes we can be very disconnected. Our head, our mind, body is a bit disconnected. So we live up here without actually noticing what's going on in our body. For me, when I first started using Aroma Point Therapy, I found that I used to just have to hold it in place for the 3 minutes and after a while started noticing what was happening. And for me, with bergamot on that point, what I find is after, a minute, or depends on how stressed out I am at the time. So if I'm nice and relaxed, it doesn't take very long for it to kick in. If I've been running around and everything's hectic, it might take the full 3 minutes, or it could take 5 minutes for somebody who's on the table, say if you're treating somebody and they are really, really stressed. What I notice for me is a kind of a relaxing down into myself and almost a shifting over to the side. So I'll feel a physical relaxation with it. With bergamot, the effect that bergamot has on our system and on our brain is a net balancing effect. So Tiffany, years ago, when she first started researching this clinically, she worked with a neuroscientist who was able to do brain scans. They scanned a lot of people's brains who'd used bergamot before and after. And what it does is, if you, oh, no worries at all. Yeah, yeah, no bother. Um, if you use bergamot, what happens, it balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And it also balances the areas of the brain that might be under or over firing. So that's why it's a net balancing. So it doesn't bring everything up or everything down. It actually rebalances. So if you have some part of your brain that should be more active, it brings it up again. Or if you have some area of your brain that's over firing and it's too active, it relaxes it down. So it balances the brain. It has, I'll bring up, I have a little chart here that you can see about bergamot. Um, so don't want that one. Let's see. Okay, here's bergamot. Okay, so if you look at bergamot summary, there's loads of different, like it goes into all its kind of chemistry makeup and that. So mental and emotional uses, so it's good for mood, depression, insomnia. All of these kind of different uses of it. There's different chakra uses. So it just basically balances, brings a bit of light, activates and flows light and central nervous system balancing, opens perspective, clears agitation, calms the heart. So this is the schism power. So it has loads of benefits basically. But what I use it for most is that initial layer of kind of stress and that people are having. It relaxes it down. So Tiffany would say, when she first started trying this technique in her clinic, what she would find as an acupuncturist in her practice, that using bergamot on Shen Men and the ear here and some other points before she went into her treatment meant that she could get so much further in that first session than she could otherwise. Before that, and I'm sure a lot of practitioners would find this, people are coming in and they're very, very stressed and worried and overwhelmed. And you spend the whole of that session just trying to get them back into a level of not being in fight or flight, of not being in overwhelm, stressed, to get to where you need to get to. So she would have found that using the oils like this would mean that she could get done in one session what would normally take 4 to 6 sessions, because you're able to cut through that noise and bring people back into a state of calm much more quickly with the oils and then get to what you need to do. So bergamot is amazing. So I don't know how many watching this will have had experience with using essential oils at all before, but I know for myself, before I learned this technique, I used to diffuse and I still diffuse. I've got my lavender going there to try and stop my dog from barking at the birds out the back garden, which she's been doing all morning. Um, I used to, rub them all over, say if it's a neck or back or sore, or, put them on body areas. With using aroma point therapy, what we're doing is not just letting an oil soak in through the skin. So we're using specific points, the acupuncture points, because they have a resonance with the oil. So the oils themselves have a vibrational resonance, and that's different depending on the oils. The different properties that the oils have pair really well with certain different acupoints, and those acupoints also have a certain resonance and draw in that energy. So it goes into the energy meridians and it affects the energy flow within the body and helps kind of shift and rebalance depending on what's going on. It affects us on mental, emotional, and physical levels. So it's not just, on one level, it affects all 3 levels. So depending what's going on for somebody. Um, And the beauty of it is that you don't actually need to know what sort of blockages or what the problem is. You can assess how somebody is, whether they come in on my neck, maybe they're giving you symptoms that they're tense and tight and sore, or they might be apathetic, or, they might have hot kind of, arthritic knee joints. So they'll come in with different symptoms and things like that we can address. And you can, depending on what people are coming in with, you can adjust and see what they need. So it's really beautiful like that. The other oil that we were going to work with was black spruce. Okay, so black spruce is obviously a tree oil. All of the tree oils are quite grounding. The practice that I was going to get you to do with this is called the sacral cradle hold. So using likewise diluted black spruce. So this is pre-diluted as well. With this, you're going to use it over a body zone. So the Aroma Point Therapy is on acupoints and body zones. So this is body zone. I'm going to take a few drops of the diluted oil, rub them together in the palms of your hand, and place one hand low down on the lower abdomen on the front, on the skin, and the other hand just goes on the lower sacrum, just at the back there. Okay, and you can stand while you're doing it or sit, whatever's more comfortable. And just hold them in place there. So it's a cradle sacral hold, okay? And if you hold them there, well, it can be a bit difficult to hold for more than the minute, but you can hold them there for 1 to 3 minutes. Or if your arms get tired, you can take them around and just do cupped hand inhalation, which is just literally your cupped hands over your hand and mouth, your nose and mouth, and just take some deep breaths in. Okay. And black spruce is a beautiful oil for any kind of fears. So it settles and grounds, and it helps release any fears that are coming up, whether it's survival instinct fears or ancestral fears. Um, it's really good and helping with expression as well, so fear of expression, stuff like that. So it's a really beautiful oil. You can also use it on a point in the top of the head. So GV20 is up here. If you take line from the top of your ears, kind of over to the top of your head, in front and back, where they meet in the middle there, is GV20, governing vessel 20. So that's a point that just helps open up the crown of the head. And I would often, when I was doing one-to-ones with Aroma Point Therapy and Reiki, I would use that point last, just before we went into the Reiki session, just to help open up and allow for the energy to flow. Um, and it's a beautiful one to do as well. There's also a gorgeous treatment that you can use black spruce for, which is diluted when it's diluted, which is a spinal treatment. So that's gorgeous treatment that you can use, using it along the spine. It just really helps kind of rebalance and relax. I was on a retreat a couple of years ago over in the UK, and one of the people who was giving the retreat was just a bit worn out and frazzled. And I said, "Oh, if you want, I can do a spinal treatment on you, and it just kind of helps relax." She's like, "Oh yeah." And then somebody else heard, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" It ended up I had about 10 people that were all lying on their tummies in the big yoga room that we were using. And I went from one to one to one to one doing these spinal treatments. And I wish I had my phone on me, because the pictures would have been great. But everyone was just so relaxed afterwards. It really just is a proper reset for the nervous system. It's amazing. It's one we'll go into in the course. So basically, you can use aroma point therapy on yourself using really good quality oils, because you're putting them on your skin. So you want them to be really good quality. Make sure they're diluted, kind of 25% to 50% of good quality oils, diluted. Have awareness that if you're putting oils like bergamot all over you, that they can be photosensitizing. So just to be conscious to not lather yourself in oils and go out in the sunshine when we get some. And know that it's a beautiful technique for really kind of being conscious of not being wasteful of oils, because I was mind blown by how effective it is at getting a certain result with using a really small amount of oil on a singular point. So you're not kind of wasteful at all. And what I was going to share as well is that at the end of June, I have a Aroma Point Therapy Fundamentals course coming up. So this is the full 2-day course where we will go in depth into, the dynamics of fragrance model and the different oils that apply to the different areas, the biological terrains model, what it is, how we assess people. Now, if you're a clinician, like if you are working in Chinese medicine, you can, use your methods for diagnosis and treat as per that. My background is in nursing. I'm not able to diagnose or treat somebody, but what I can do is assess, and we can use the model to assess whereabouts people are in relation to imbalances. And we can use certain oils and protocols to bring them back into balance again. And that's, what we can do. So within that course, we have the 6 biological terrains. That's tense and weak, hot and cold, damp and dry. And we'll go into each of the terrains, and there's a core sequence which looks at the physical, mental, and emotional body. So it covers all of them. And then there's more targeted, so a physical, protocol for the tense, an emotional protocol, and a mental protocol. So if you know that somebody is purely coming to you, although they rarely are, with just really tense muscles, tight muscles, pain related to that, you can purely go for the tense physical. But within the course, we will be looking at all these different protocols, all the different oils and their properties, and getting to practice on each other. So you'll get to give and receive the treatments for the core treatments. And yeah, it's the first time that this course has been taught in Europe. So Tiffany Carroll and Peter Holmes used to travel together, a lot around the US, and they used to teach this course in person. But I'm one of only 13 of us that can do it worldwide, and the only one who's doing it in Europe at the moment. So this is the first time it's being taught. And because of that, I'm reducing the cost of it for this initial one, because I'll be finding my feet with teaching the course as well. So it's going to be €255 for the 2-day course, coming on the 28th and 29th of June. and it's going to be in Athgo in Newcastle in County Dublin, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each of the days. And yeah, it should be great. So if anyone's interested, what I'll do is I'll send out the recording. You'll have gotten this recording in the email. And within that email, I'll also have the sales page for the course for anyone who's interested. Flowdesk won't let me do payment plans, but if anyone needs a payment plan to pay it over longer than the one-off, then just let me know and I can send you a link to pay over however many you need. And that is all I have to share with you today. If you have any questions, oh, you're so welcome. Any questions? And if you need to, or if something comes to you and you want to send me a question by email, that's no problem at all. I'll be happy to answer. And hopefully I'll see some of you on the course. Where to get the oils. I will send information in the email. So the oils that I use a few different companies. So the ones that I was using today are doTERRA, which are really excellent quality, but they are quite expensive. I also use Monara, which is Tiffany Carroll's company, and they're based in the US. So the beauty of them is that a lot of them come pre-diluted so that they're ready to use on the points. The only thing is to be aware when you order them that you do have to pay an import tax on them. So there's like 23% tax when they come in. I think cost per pure oil, they probably are similar cost to the doTERRA ones, but where, doTERRA, if you were to buy a 5 ml of rose oil in doTERRA, it's quite a lot of money, whereas because Tiffany's is diluted to 15%, it's more affordable to buy it. There is also an Irish company, I can't remember the name offhand, but I got Blue Tansy from them recently and it seems really good quality. They're in the west of Ireland, so I will put them in. When you're buying oils, I just say be cautious about not buying like 10 oils in Aldi for whatever, or anywhere that has all of the oils kind of cost the same amount of money because that's not realistic, no worries, Mia. Um, if you were buying orange oil, it's going to be a lot cheaper than, say, buying sandalwood, which is much more precious. So just being conscious that there is a difference. The other thing that they say to watch out for if you're in a shop is that they're not covered in layered dust. Oils can oxidize over time, so you want them to be fresh. That they have the botanical name on them. They should have where they come from and their botanical name. And just be aware that it might be a pure, say, lavender, but it just mightn't be a very good quality lavender. So that all kind of varies as well. Um, yeah, so you want it to be very good quality. But I'll send on the links for doTERRA, Monara, and the name of the Irish company as well. All right. Thanks so much. I'll send the recording out later today and details of the course. All right. Bye then.